Good morning, Southern California, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm with Coach K, John Klymshyn, author, speaker, and coach, architect of growing companies in U.S. and Canada. As I mentioned, one of my favorite
and
countries.
Europe, but not as much in Europe as I would like.
Best-selling author, Move the Sale Forward, Ultimate Sales Manager's Guide, How to Sell Without Being a Jerk. Anyhow, podcast expert. Let's talk about yourstartupadvisors.com.
Yes.
It's really important. And I want to jump into something. Yourstartupadvisors.com, you mentioned something to me in the break and in the past, that you're even a startup if you're successful, and there's 3 things you need to concern yourself with. Pretend like you have a little bit of funding. Go over those 3. I love that.
Here's the thing.
I love that.
Especially at this time of the year. Okay, we're recording right at the cusp of in between the major holidays. Right. We just had Thanksgiving. We're looking at Christmas, and everybody that runs, owns, or is involved in leading a business,
a successful business
needs to think about 2017. I think through a very unique lens, and that lens is as though you are a scrappy startup.
Love that.
If you're a scrappy startup, a couple of things that are the truth. Number one, you don't have a lot of funding. What happens, I think, is that we get into a dangerous area that when we've had a couple of years of success, we start forgetting what it was like to worry in the middle of the night about whether or not we were going to make payroll or taxes or budget, right? We have to view, I think, 2017, 2018 as though we're a scrappy startup. Why? Because number one, when you operate with the mindset that you don't have unlimited funding, you start getting creative, and guess what? You start focusing on sales again. Upselling your current customers, going back to old customers, finding new customers. So when you have little funding, what does that mean? We need money.
Well, and when you have a lot of funding, you'll agree with it, Coach K, you end up getting scared of saving the money versus being scrappy and going out and making things happen. When you don't have anything to lose, when you're at the bottom of the heap, you have one way to look it up.
That's right. And you're certain days you feel like Sisyphus, which is the Greek guy that was pushing the boulder up the hill, and as soon as he got it to the top, it rolled back down, and he had to push it back up again. That's life as an entrepreneur. That's life as a company owner. When we start getting comfortable, we're in trouble. And when we focus on protecting what we already have, we have begun our decline as a business. And that leads me to my second thing. The second thing for every business, when you think of being a scrappy startup, is that every day is an opportunity to grow. Grow your people, grow your market, grow your profit.
Grow yourself.
Of course. You got to, I'm sorry, I make it sound like it's matter of fact. One of the key tenets that I teach people, it's on my business card, I've given it to you, I know you've given copies to other people. One of my 10 things that I aspire to do every day is to read for 1 hour. I heard Brian Tracy years ago. He was at the American Staffing Association National Conference out in Palm Springs. And the reason I remember it is twofold. Number one, I was on the same speaking program as one of the great authors and speakers in history, Brian Tracy. I was in the back of the room, he was keynoting, and I was going to do a breakout session an hour later. And I'll never forget it, Fred. I was standing there and he says, "You want to double your income? Read for an hour a day. You want to triple it? Read for 2 hours." And for 14 months after that, I read for an hour and a half a day, and I quadrupled my income as a solo flyer. I don't have a business, I have a practice, right? So I view every day like a startup. And we came up with the idea of yourstartupadvisors.com because I spend so much time around startups. I'm the sales and growth mentor for NYU's Business Incubator. I work with Acre out of Brooklyn, and I'm talking to some other states around the country about how do we promote the idea of entrepreneurship and make sure that people who are wildly creative and inventors can sell what they create. Because, I got $1.5 million in funding. Really, how many customers do you have? Right. Because until you have a customer, you don't have a business. Mm-hmm. So what do we do? First, we say, you know what? We have to operate, think, and live as though we have very little funding. Number two, every day is an opportunity to grow. That means me. Mm-hmm. So I'm up at 0:30, and I'm reading before I begin my business day. And then the third is, what did I tell you it was?
Third, serve someone out there. Serve.
You got to
Because
serve
somebody's
someone.
going to be right behind you, ready to take
That's
it.
exactly right. You need to continue to move forward because you need to be aware of the fact that I don't care how special you think you are. A friend of mine, a consultant out of Oxnard, his name is Phil Beeks, very, very bright guy, he's a mentor of mine. He says, people get caught up in the idea that they are just terminally unique. They're so special that nobody else can do what they do.
You're all
guess
replaceable.
what? There's a whole bunch of people that have written books. We're all replaceable. So how do we make sure that we grow? Well, what we do is we find multiple people that can replace us so that we can go do something else. Not that we're not in love with what we do, but here's the thing. If I'm still doing the exact same kind of gig 5 years from today that I'm doing today, I'm doing something wrong because I need to be aware of, I need to keep, the rear view mirror up to realize that competition is coming up behind me. And if I lose sight of that, if I slow my pace, if I make the mistake of standing still, that competition is going to climb right up my back, step on my head, and go make a goal. And I'm sorry, I can't handle that. My birth order issue is I'm the third boy, and there's a girl behind me. Oh, no.
And you have to aspire to the two in front of you?
That's exactly right.
I love that. Something that's so relevant to this conversation, and that is, it's the same in life. You can't get complacent. You need to be scrappy.
Yes.
And there's the competition. Sometimes the competition in a relationship is creep, is boredom creep, is repetition, is that. Yes. So important in life.
Boredom creep.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
In life, in relationships, in business, it all is the same.
Absolutely.
We only have a minute left.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about
guacamole recipes?
Well,
have someone call in right now. Oh, I'm sorry. This is recorded in advance, so forgot about that.
How about tell me about your startup advisor.
Your startup advisor.
Who are you serving specifically?
We are serving people who have started a business and they have won at least, they've closed a deal with at least 10 new customers. Why? Because I've worked with, quote, startups that are two guys in a room, and as soon as you add a third person, they lose their focus and they forget for 3 days that they're supposed to sell their idea. So where we have found the sweet spot is that if you can sell 10 customers, you can sell 100. But the fact that you sold 10 doesn't mean that you know how to sell 100 or that you know how to build a sales team to sell to 1,000. And that's what your Startup Advisors is all about. How do I hire? Who do I hire? How do I inspire them? How do I lead a sales team? How do I make sure that when I take funding, I'm taking it from the right people? And how do I scale? Scale is a very sexy word in the startup world. And to me, you and I have seen this before. When an organization truly scales, it impacts a whole bunch of lives.
Love that. And because you can impact more people with your idea. Those that want to reach out to you, John?
They will go to yourstartupadvisors.com or 2dayswithcoachk.com. We didn't get a chance to talk about my 2-day sales training events that come up, but people can go to 2dayswithcoachk.com. And they can email me directly, John, John, at Klymshyn.com, and they'll find it on your website how to spell that very unique last name.
By the way, real quickly, New York is my new favorite city, so
Yes.
I'm looking forward to traveling with you there. Hope you enjoyed this edition of the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. Watch us online, hometownstation.com. This is Fred Arnold on AM 1220, KHTS.